Hello! Happy Sunday! How are you? I'm Shayla, and welcome to the 5 o'clock crafts channel. So happy you're joining me. Today, I will be making a digital scrapbook page using the GoDaddy Studio app for iPad. And I'll be crafting with the Hearth Hollow Collection by Traci. Let's get started. First step, I'll open a new project. I'm going to be working with a white background this time, and I'll set the size at 3600 pixels square. Now I'm going to choose my background paper. I've decided to go with this green one. Just gotta fit it in the page, make it square. Next, I'm going to be choosing 2 accent papers. So I've decided to go with this plaid one. I'm going to move it to the bottom and top of the papers, just as a border on both sides. My next accent paper is this really gorgeous wooden effect one. I'm going to duplicate that. I'll put it once at the bottom, again once at the top, and I'm just going to tuck it underneath that plaid paper there. This is going to be my matting paper. I chose something a little brighter. It's not quite white, it's a little blue toned, but I wanted it to be able to showcase my photos really well and help them pop off the page. Now it's time for the photos. So I've chosen these photos of our horses. This is going to be a trail theme page. So I just am adjusting a little bit right in GoDaddy Studio using their photo adjustment tools there. Not quite as useful as the ones that I have on my iPhone, but sometimes it's nice to just brighten up that photo a bit. Adding in my second picture. The first one I chose to do square. This one I'm actually going to crop a little bit. It's going to end up being more like a 3:4 ratio afterwards. Just lining them up, kind of fiddling with it a bit, making sure they're the same size. We'll pop that picture over to the side. And now I'm going to go in and try and find a journal card. I wasn't quite sure what I was looking for yet, so I spent a little bit of time just checking out all the options. There's some really cute cards in this collection. But I saw this yellow one, and it lists a happy list. So I thought I could definitely list a couple of things that happened on this trip that I really enjoyed. I'm sure I can find 5 different things to go on my happy list. Again, just adjusting, making sure they all fit on that photo mat nicely. I thought about adding a couple more pictures at this time, but instead I thought I'd add some embellishments and see where it led me. This fox is so cute. I love that little character frame around it too. Adding a ribbon just for a nice place to anchor this embellishment cluster that I'm creating. And this is where I just start kind of adding things to the page, just sort of deciding how I want this cluster to look. Adding a little tab up at the top. Originally, I thought I was going to put my date on this tab, but I ended up changing my mind, as you'll see later on. So I used this pre-made word art, Autumn, to kind of start my title. There wasn't anything that exactly fit what I was looking for. So I started with that. And then this is one of my favorite tricks for making sure your title letters are all proportionate to each other. So I lined it up with that T that's already in the other one, made sure they were a similar size. Now I'm just laying out how many letters I will need overall. It's an easy way to keep them all the same size. So I'm going in and replacing each letter. When you click on the letter, you'll have the option to duplicate, replace. I'm clicking on replace. couple of letters I was able to duplicate, so I didn't need to go in and choose the new letter. Now, they're all kind of spaced out funny, so I'm going in and using that nudge tool to just move them over so that it doesn't look strange and oddly spaced, and I can move it exactly how I want it to be. Just adjusting, playing with the size of the title. I'm going to go in and start adding some background pieces for that title cluster so that it's not just sitting there on the page. It looks like it's going to be anchored underneath that photo. This is always a fun process. I just pick different things. Sometimes I put something on the page and go, oh, that's ugly. I don't like that at all. But this one, in this collection, there's a few really nice pieces, like that brown circle with the stitching, as well as that piece of tape. I kind of got a little bored trying to layer things right now, so I'm switching to my happy list and listing off different things. So first I'm just getting the text in the spaces. I love this font. It looks like an old typewriter. It's so fun. So I'm fiddling with the space between the lines, also between the letters. Sometimes I can make it smaller and it just looks a little nicer. This time it wasn't really working that way for me, so I ended up just moving the spaces between the lines instead. My happy list for this autumn trail ride: sunny golden days. I just love the colors of the sky, the leaves, everything. Of course, spending time with friends. This was a fun trail ride that a few friends and I did together. So the horse that I'm riding in these pictures, his name is Hudson, so I was really happy with his trail experience that he already had, so he was a breeze to ride on the trail. I haven't been on this riding trail before this time, so it was really fun to experience a new trail. And for the last space on this happy list, I am just writing in beautiful fall colors. Actually, when I went and put this on the page, I didn't like how just one word was hanging out by itself. So I just went and added another word just to make it a little bit longer, but it's still the same thought in the end. And now I'm just adjusting the size of those letters. I'm just scrunching together those letters, again using that nudge feature just to move everything over in a straight line, keeps it nice and level. With the smaller title, it just kind of looks a little more proportionate, more pleasing to the eye. I'm going to spend the most time fiddling around with the title spot, just because there was so many items to it, so many little elements. I spent a lot of time adjusting and moving things just to make it look just quite right to my eye. Adding in a tag. This little arrow tag is so cute. I ended up just layering it right above my photo at the top there. Goes with the whole happy theme on the page. These little clusters right here of the negative and the tag with a little safety pin, super cute. You'll see me pull up these flowers a few times, these flower stickers. There was something not quite right each time I put it on the page. I couldn't put my finger on it for the longest time, but you'll see me trying it above the tag spot up there, trying to add it to my title. But I wasn't able to find a place to put it just yet. These little hearts caught my eye. Thought they'd be perfect little thing to layer up at the top. At first, I didn't realize that green was the exact same as my background paper, so that's a little distracting, having the same paper there twice. So I switched it out for the red instead. These glitter hearts are so fun. So I had to layer a couple of those. And I'm also adding this one in yellow just to bring that yellow color across my page. Draw the eye across. Again, trying a different flower cluster. It's still just not looking quite right on this page. I love those cute tags. I didn't have a use for them on this project, but the tags in this collection are very cute. So instead of a date, I ended up just putting that little vintage button on top of the tab at the top, and it just was exactly what it was asking for. That vintage button just really finished off that tab at the top. I always like to layer in some sort of scatter or ink splatter, sometimes paint streaks. Just adds dimension to and anchors that title cluster to the page. So here's my third attempt trying to use one of the flower clusters. I thought maybe if I layered it underneath, it would be a little less distracting. Maybe draw the eye down into that corner, since I seem to be going with a bit of a diagonal across the page. I thought maybe layering a couple of flower clusters would help it. But this is when I realized what's happening is that flower sticker is a bright white and all the other whites on the page are not. They're a little bit warmer. So I'm using the adjust feature in GoDaddy Studio and just turning up the warmth just a bit. And it helps make those clusters blend in with the rest of the elements on the page. Then that white sticker part isn't so distracting. You might have noticed as I was adding my elements to the page that there was no shadows on any of them. So now that I've got my general design down, I'm going to go back in and start adding the shadows to all of my elements one by one. Just helps to make the whole thing look a lot more realistic as a digital page. There's only so much you can do for dimension. It is a digital layout, so of course, you can only fake it so much. Going in and rotating some of the elements like those hearts, I find that also helps make a digital page look a little bit more realistic. Because when you're gluing things onto a traditional page, as much as you try, nothing's ever perfectly straight. So just twisting things a little bit on a digital page adds to that realism. I've really liked using this collection by Traci Reed, Hearth Hollow. It's a little bit of an older collection. I believe it came out in 2021. But right now, if you're watching this video when I first made it, it's part of the Oldies But Goodies release on Traci Reed's website. It's a really great one. All those nice, warm, homey colors on there. Great for showcasing all your fall and autumn scrapbooking pages. It was a lot of fun to work with. Decided to tweak that embellishment cluster with the flowers just a bit. Just adding some tape behind those hearts. They kind of looked like they were floating just a little bit, so I wanted to show that they're firmly anchored to the page. So I'm adding this polka dot washi tape. And just cleaning up the edge where that one piece poked out, just so it'll look like I have one long piece, even though I had to shrink it down. I'm going to go in and add to this embellishment cluster in the lower right hand of the page. This acorn is adorable. So I'm going to spend a few minutes here playing with it, adding an arrow, just adding a few things to the cluster. Sometimes when I'm working on clusters like this, a lot like the title cluster, I'll add items, get rid of them, change them. I realized I had forgotten to put the date anywhere, so I like to use this trick to kind of make it look like I used one of those stampers. So I'll layer it in a couple of times. Just trying to decide right now where I want to put that on the page. Decided to put it right underneath the cluster. So I'll angle it a little bit, and then I'll add the second one in and reduce the opacity there. And then it makes it look like I ran out of ink when I was stamping. I think it's so realistic. One of my favorite tricks and tips on a physical page that I use also in digital. So I'm just looking for the final element to put behind that acorn to help make it pop off the brown arrow. This wasn't the right choice. It's a little too close to that green ribbon already. So I decided to use another one of those polka dot washi tapes. Add some continuity to the page. Just adding a couple of additional splatters. I try to make it look like I've used natural splatters, that they aren't just the same ones copy and pasted all over the page. So I'm flipping it over, rotating it, trying to use a part of the splatter that you don't already see on the page. And just adding a little bit behind this cluster too. And there you have it, a digital page complete. Thanks for joining me today for some crafting time. I hope I've inspired you to spend some time crafting, whether traditional or digital. Enjoy your day. Thanks for watching.